Good morning. We're glad to have this opportunity to share some information from our own research, especially focusing on the functional food. So I'm from university, so definitely I'm an academic researcher. So what we do as academic researchers probably a little bit different from industry, pure industry aspects. To me, I think what we should do, or what we have been doing, is that we find out what are the consumer needs and what the problem out there associated with our food. And then we work with industry and growers and producers to see what they can provide. And we try to meet the needs of consumer, needs of society as a whole to produce more healthier food choices, and working with industry to find the missing link between what industry can provide and what consumer or society as a whole needs. So today I'm going to focus on some new research area, developing the vegetable-based products for healthier type of functional food. So I'm sure probably many of you already heard the term functional food. Anybody? How many of you know the terms or heard about functional food? Okay, handful, which is very good, so that's why I'm here. So in the United States, especially around the Western world, we know that right now people have health problem, right? And for example, the obesity rate in US is outrageous. And the risk for certain chronic diseases, for example, diabetes, heart disease, even cancer, or inflammatory related disease also pose serious threats to human health. And we, based on the current research and also accumulating research, we know a lot of those problems associated with what we have been eating too much, and also associated with what we have been not eating enough. Okay? So this is what I consider as a consumer or society needs in terms of food. Okay? And we also know that a lot of food can provide components that can reduce the risk of those diseases, and the vegetable will be a big part of this game. So this is just a definition of what is a functional food. Basically, first, it must be a food. Okay, that's really, it cannot be a pill, cannot be a capsule, it needs to be a food. Secondly, the food should be satisfactorily demonstrated to provide health benefits. Okay, so satisfactorily demonstrated means you cannot say, oh, my grandma told me broccoli is good for you. Okay, that's not satisfactorily demonstrated, okay? It needs to be based on solid scientific research, publications, human studies, animal studies, laboratory studies, okay? And also reproducible studies. Not only just this group showed this, and next year another group couldn't repeat it, should be demonstrated very satisfactorily. And also, this effect should be beneficial effect. For example, decrease the risk of a certain disease. If you eat broccoli, your heart disease risk will be decreased, or your risk for cancer will be decreased. So this is called health benefits. So anything, any food that can provide this type of health benefits, we call them functional foods. Okay? And that's the trend, that's the needs from the consumer and from the, in terms of health of the whole human being, so to speak. So this trend based on food and health promotion basically is based on finding this currently ongoing study, many ongoing study around the world. I'm not very familiar with the study from Australia, but in the US, in Asia, more and more studies show that there's a link between certain food components and the disease prevention. For example, in terms of cancer, we know cancer is a very hard disease to cure. And in the United States, billions of dollars has been spent each year trying to find a cure for cancer. But now we know it's very difficult, right? And the deaths from cancer still keep constant. One of the reasons is that once the cancer reaches a certain stage, say the end stage, a lot of treatment only can prolong the life of the patient or make them more comfortable, but they cannot save their lives. Okay? So the term chemoprevention comes from if we can prevent disease from happening, prevent the cancer from going to the end stage, then we can definitely win in the war against cancer. Okay? So the definition of disease prevention is that we have some, doesn't matter natural or synthetic, but in this case, in a food case, in a functional food case, in a vegetable-based functional food case, those are all natural components found in the vegetable, in the food, that can provide the health benefit to reverse, to prevent, or delay the occurrence or initiation or progression of the disease. Okay? So this is the base of functional food, is to prevent disease. So to my understanding, anything we eat, anything as a food, as long as they can provide a certain health benefit, it can be considered as a functional food. Okay? So for example, those pictures I took from internet where they sell the kitchen mixer. So this is a product they claim that you can make using their mixer. I think it's a good example that you can make functional food at home. Because as long as you put healthier ingredient into the food product or you take unhealthy ingredient out of the food product, you're producing functional food. For example, we know too much fat is not good for you. Too much sugar is not good for you, right? If you can lower the amount of those ingredients in the food you produce, and that food becomes functional food. On the other end, if you know something in the broccoli is good for you, then you're adding broccoli to your food preparation, then you are producing functional food. Okay, so as I mentioned, as an academic researcher, what we do is we try to find what the society needs and what the consumer needs. Then we try to work with the producer, grower, and the food industry to see where is the missing link between what the industry can provide and what the consumer needs in terms of functional food. Okay? So basically, we have two tasks. One is we need to find out what are the health-promoting or beneficial ingredients from vegetables, okay? And how they work in human body, how they work to promote health, to prevent disease. This is the first task for us. The second one is how can we utilize those ingredients or bioactive food components and make them into a product that can really effectively prevent disease, okay? So I'm going to give you some examples. For example, broccoli. Most of you probably know broccoli is good for you. Okay? Even some people don't like the taste of broccoli, but there's something in broccoli that's good for you. Okay, so this is a picture of a professor from Johns Hopkins University. He found out that actually there's a component called sulforaphane. Okay, so this is a compound, the flavor compound responsible. If you chew the raw broccoli, you can taste the pungency, right? So that's the taste of this compound called sulforaphane. Basically, this is one of the active ingredients found in broccoli that can change our body. For example, it can increase this enzyme. This enzyme is one of the proteins produced by our liver, okay? And this enzyme can block the damage caused by the carcinogen to our DNAs. You know, carcinogen are the chemicals found in the environment that can induce cancer, okay? So carcinogen can change our DNA and cause mutation, eventually progress into the cancer. So if we can block this change by this compound, then we are decreasing human risk for certain disease in case of, for example, cancer. And also the same protein, the protein I just mentioned, produced in our liver, which can be increased by consumption of broccoli, and also can decrease the risk for heart disease. Okay? I'm not going to go into the detail. So this is one part of our research where we identify the health-promoting ingredient in vegetables, okay, how they work in human in terms of decrease your risk for diseases. For example, up in 1992, when the professor found out about the sulforaphane from broccoli, you can see the publication just increased a lot each year in terms of the health benefit of this compound. And also, I think as a vegetable grower, and as Tim just mentioned, the value-added products, right? Right now, a lot of emphasis has been on the safety of the fresh produce. You can track where it's produced, what was the processing facility, and the safety issue, and what type of chemical has been used. But I think in the future, one important aspect we should add on to functional food or vegetable-based health-promoting food product is to track the amount of bioactive ingredient in the food. Okay, for example, in broccoli. Say the broccoli produced in Australia definitely is different from broccoli produced in the United States. Not only the difference in terms of how they taste, probably some difference there, I don't know, but definitely the level of those good stuff in the broccoli can be different. And also, now we know that different part of broccoli, the sprout, have a lot more than the mature plant. Actually, this is the flower part of it, or the stem. So what we need to find out on the package is, okay, this is broccoli produced in Australia, and what is the amount of those ingredients in the broccoli, okay, and how much you can get from each serving. Okay, so those are the future trend, I think. Next example, onions and garlic. Probably a lot of you already know it's very healthy, even though they kind of smell bad, right? Actually, those bad smelling components, we call them active sulfur compound. So the sulfur compound gives you very distinct flavor of onions and garlic, okay? And they have a lot of health benefits. I'm not going to go over those, but we know that those, if you cook onion, then you cut it open. Can that onion make you cry again? No, right? When you cook the onion, and this enzyme, again, it's a protein inside of the onion tissue, got killed, and no more health benefit compound get produced. We need the action of this protein. So that's why fresh minced onion and also fresh minced garlic can produce those active compounds. Okay? And then if you cook them, you don't get the health benefit. Okay? So then come to the question, how can you make those really strong flavored product of garlic onion into some product that for everyone? Some people don't like the flavor, right? You don't like the onion or garlic breast. So we can have some encapsulation technology for consumer, you don't smell it when you take it. And it don't produce those garlic breasts, okay? But you still get the health benefit. Okay? So that's what we call innovation. Soy proteins, soy products. Okay, a lot of study already showed soy product can produce a lot of health benefit, right, especially for women. And we know there's a group compound called isoflavones, or also known as phytoestrogen. Phytoestrogen means the counterpart of human estrogen produced by plants. Okay, phyto means plants. So they can weed out the bad effect of estrogen and decrease the risk of certain diseases, for example, cancer, breast cancer and ovarian cancer. So tea is not a vegetable, but I think it's very interesting to introduce you. So the bioactive component in tea is called the catechins. In green tea, we have more catechins, but in black tea, where they are fermented, and the catechin get transformed into other the compound with the colors. And that's why the difference between the green tea color and the black tea color. Okay? And actually, the enzyme we call the polyphenol oxidase can be found in many, many vegetables. For example, potatoes. If you peel a potatoes and you leave it outside for half hour, what happened to the potato? They turn brown, right? So that's exactly what happened during the fermentation of green tea to black tea. Okay, so this enzyme everywhere. But this change during this processing turned catechin into some less bioactive, less health beneficial components. So I give you this example. The reason is that food is very complex. Vegetables are very complex. So you go to market, they are fresh out there, they look good, taste good. But that's not the end of the story. We need to find out what happened to those health-promoting ingredients. They may taste good, they may look good, but they may not have abundant health-beneficial component in there. Okay? So what, as a grower, you want to consider is how can you produce vegetables that can not only looks good, looks fresh, and taste good, and also can provide abundant health-promoting ingredient there. And that will add tremendous value to your products. For example, if one broccoli you produce can provide 10 times sulforaphane compared to the broccoli from US, you can sell it for much more. I'm sure some people will willing to pay the premium for that. Okay? Tomatoes, okay, the red color in tomatoes, and the compound called the lycopene, okay, and it's beneficial products. If you look at multivitamins for men, especially for men older than 50 years old, one of the ingredients would be lycopene, because there are some studies showed lycopene can decrease your risk for prostate cancer. Okay? And also this compound is very interesting because it's not very stable when you have lights, right? So as a food industry, you can produce something containing tomato but protect them from lights, for example. And also, this compound is not very easily being absorbed. Okay? That's why we want to produce the vegetable-based product that can increase the absorption of those compounds. Okay? For example, fresh tomato, you only get, I don't know, less than 10% of lycopene absorbed if you eat fresh tomato. But if you make tomato into ketchup, then suddenly the absorption of lycopene will increase many, many times. Okay? So there's a lot of interesting factor to consider when you're considering the health beneficial of the vegetables. Spinach. What's good in spinach is compound called lutein. It's antioxidant, and it's good for the eye health. Okay? And also other pigments, for example, anthocyanin, it can be found in many, many darker colored fruits and vegetables. For example, here the example is cranberries. So all of those, I'm not going to go over this. There's many, many of them. They have different health benefits. They have different properties. They look different. They taste different. Their stability is different. So when you're talking about functional food, not only you say, okay, I have broccoli in it, and that's it. That's not enough. We need to find out how much broccoli should be included. So what form of broccoli? Is it a sprout? Is it the stem or the flower? Which part? How much? Okay. All of those information need to be based on scientific publications, studies, to show, okay, this is what we really need to our body that can produce health-promoting effects. Okay, so this is just a picture from a while ago published in Nature, and these are the most actively studied bioactive components from fruits and vegetables. Some of them I already mentioned. So as I mentioned, there are many of them. Okay, as a food scientist, what we want to find out is how they work in our body and how we can utilize them and put them back into the food product, and eventually we can have health-promoting effect to human being. So this is the first link where scientists try very hard to find out what is the ingredient, active ingredient in different vegetables. and how they work in human being. Okay? And the next step is how we can integrate those ingredients or vegetable as an ingredient or as just a food, how we can produce certain product, utilize those bioactive food components, and realize their health promoting effects. I'm just going to, there's many, many different strategies. I'm going to just give you one example where we have been actively working on. So we utilize a very natural component of our food we call emulsion. So emulsions, how many of you know what is emulsion? Okay. Milk. How many of you know what is milk? Hope everybody, right? So milk is a very excellent example of emulsion. Okay? If you compare skim milk with full-fat milk, what is the difference? The color is different, right? Full-fat milk is really white, look very creamy, and skim milk like semi-transparent and it's kind of watery, right? So the difference is you remove fat, you remove butter from full-fat milk. So that suddenly the color changed. Actually, what's in milk is the butter is a small, tiny droplets floating in the water, in the whey, the water part of the milk, right? The more fat you have, the fat droplets reflect light, so you have this creamy white color. Okay, so milk is an emulsion. Emulsion is fat droplets floating in the water. That's it. Salad dressing is an emulsion because you put the oil in water, you mix them up. That's salad dressing. So you can see emulsions are utilized everywhere in food. Many, many different food contain emulsions. Okay, we are utilizing emulsion as a delivery tool to carry the functional ingredient from vegetable into food product to deliver them. And our goal is to protect those vegetable-based active ingredients and also to increase the absorption of those ingredients. Because if you have, say, the lycopene from tomato, right? If they are not absorbed, they just go through our system without being utilized. We need to have a good absorption in order to have health benefits. So, okay, this is a very busy slide, but anyway, we can design the small, tiny droplet similar as what happened in the milk into different structure. They are all still small, tiny droplets, but they have different composition. They have different structure, okay? Some of them very simple, just really tiny, and some are larger. Some have other droplets inside the bigger droplets, and this has multiple layers to protect them, and so on. I'm not going to go through one by one, but we have this ability to produce different structures. The reason we want to produce the different structure is to accommodate the different bioactive components. As I mentioned, there's many, many of them, right? Some of them like to stay in the oil, some of them is not, okay? Some of them it's really active, some of them can be degraded in our stomach, so we want to protect them in the stomach, okay? So that is why we have so many different options to accommodate different bioactive components from vegetables. I'm just going to give you some examples. So what we do as a food scientist is to produce healthy food, right? It's very complex, very challenging. The reason is that you need to consider every single aspect from the production, during the processing, during the storage and the shipping, during the consumption of food product, and even after the consumption of the product. We want to make sure our delivery system, our food structure can have good compatibility. Eventually, we provide good absorption, good health benefits. For example, if you want to produce, I don't know, you have vitamin water in Australia or not? It's kind of water, you put the vitamin there, and suddenly from $1 you can sell for $5. You know, yeah, we can put lycopene from tomato in vitamin water. Why not? Okay. So, but the challenge is, the vitamin water usually is transparent. Okay. If you put the emulsion there, it will look like milk, right? People don't like it. So how can you produce emulsion without change the color appearance, okay? And also stability. If you don't have good stability, when you produce the product, they separate into sediment, into creamy layer, which is not good. You want to have water type of a taste and appearance, okay? And flavor, you cannot have off flavor, right? And you put some ingredient into food, it cannot produce off flavor which people don't like to eat or drink. During processing, we have heating treatment, we have cooling, we have drying, we have all type of mechanical stress. So our food ingredients should be compatible to those stress, cannot be degraded, cannot be damaged. During storage, and we have different environment stress there too, okay? How long you can store them. During consumption, whether they look good, whether they taste good, okay? And I'm going to focus on what happened during digestion. We want to promote their absorption. So for example, we use this emulsion, we call the Nanoemulsion, but don't be scared by the name of nano. This is all natural, all already in the food, because they are so tiny, so they can be different. For example, beta carotene, that's what we found in carrots, the yellow pigment. Our body can convert that into vitamin A. That's why it's good for us. And we found out using different oil as a carrier. Corn oil is the best, can produce good absorption, and other oil is not. So this just showcase, for example, Tim mentioned in the dip, like your vegetable, you have a dip there. But what's included in that dip is very important. What type of oil included in that dip will directly affect how much absorption you're talking about. Another aspect, so colon diseases. We have a lot of diseases, especially colon disease in the United States, colon cancer and colitis. We want to deliver certain food active components directly into colon. And those active components should be protected in the upper GI tract, in the stomach, in the small intestine. If they're absorbed there, it won't go to the colon, and they won't have health benefit in the colon. So what we can do is, for example, we put those ingredients in the middle of the emulsion droplet. It's tiny, tiny, tiny. It's 1/1,000,000th of a meter. And we wrap around it with protections, for example, fibers, dietary fibers. And those protections can prevent the degradation or digestion in the upper GI tract. And in the lower GI tract, which is large colon, we have bacteria there. The bacteria can degrade this layer and release the active ingredient in the colon to have a better absorption there, to have health benefits. Here are just some example. I'm not going to go through this. So the last example I'm going to give you is that in human body, most of the active ingredient, this is the GI tract, this is an epithelial cell lining our small intestine. Everything needs to get absorbed into two ways. One is going through liver and then go to blood circulation. And another way is going through lymph circulation, then go into blood circulation. We want to promote this route because this route without going to liver, because liver is the organ can get rid of most of the bioactive ingredient because liver will try to protect our body. Any foreign compound they try to remove and go into the urine, okay? So we will try to promote lymph absorption of different active components. For example, beta carotene from carrots, okay? So we can design a delivery system consisting of emulsion with different fat, different oils, different surfactant, different compositions, different structures. And then during the digestion and absorption in the intestinal cells, they can promote absorption into the blood where they have their health benefits. So that's all I have. I just give you some examples where what we do as a scientist to help the industry to realize the health benefits of different ingredients from vegetables and other functional food. Thank you very much.